They don't even do that. They make it sound like these treaties. I mean, I remember seeing a Seneca Nation advertisement ran on television. I saw this advertisement and I couldn't believe what I heard. And frankly, had to talk to an awful lot of people to say, look, you got to listen to this thing. And what it did, it had an elderly gentleman standing there saying, 200 years ago, our grandfathers exchanged millions of acres of land, gave up millions of acres of land in exchange for recognition of our sovereignty. And I said, what?
I cried.
You mean to tell me that there's some belief that the sovereignty of the Seneca Nation was purchased with land? Because that's literally what they were saying on television. And they ran this was running during the football season. I think even the Super Bowl, somebody said on the local station they'd run one of these ads.
They did. It went prime time, basically. And that was the problem. And the problem with that is that there was a lot of us that sat in council meetings that were trying to pitch a whole different, have a whole different pitch done, because we understood it a lot better. And what they decided to do is go to an agency of non-natives that.
But somebody had to approve it. Somebody,
sure.
I know some non-native person put this thing together and created the script. But somebody.
But that's what I mean. There's people at high levels within the Seneca Nation, at the very least, that actually seem to believe this. And if they don't believe it, then they're more dangerous.
Well, it's a problem either way. Either they believe it, which is dangerous, or they don't believe it and they let it go through anyway.
Yes.
Look, we got to take a break. I'm always running late to this show. It's good having you guys on, but I guess I talk too much to have guests. All right, this is John Kane with a full studio. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. I'm back. You know, you guys missed the conversation we had during the break. Sometimes they get even more heated. I just got scolded. No, not really. Again, I got Paul Delarone in studio, Matt Hill, Ed Schindler, and Ross John. And, you know, it's difficult because we can't emphasize enough the mistakes that are being made and they're not even being made at the political level, because they're not even dealing with this stuff politically. There's some decisions being made, and I don't mean to just pick on Rob Porter. I mean, I have some strong philosophical differences with his approach on stuff, but I see the same thing happening in Onondaga. I see the same thing happening in Tonawanda. I'm not sure what I see happening in Tuscarora, but you see this stuff happening, and the solution to all of it is the people becoming more engaged. The people have to step up. You cannot have rights without responsibilities, and we have to get more engaged. And the thing is to remember that when somebody is elected into a position, unless you have a totally twisted idea of what that really means, those people are not elected to be your rulers. I know people like to use the word leader. They're not elected leaders. What they are is they are elected servants. They have been placed as servants of the people. That's what they call it, public service. This was a concept that was unique to the Haudenosaunee. This was unique to our people. We knew that if we were going to ask somebody because of the talents they showed as a child growing up, and we knew that this person had certain skills that we thought that this person should carry a title, that carrying that title didn't mean that they were placed above us. It meant that they were placed in the service of their people because they showed the skill to do that. Because not everybody can be a public servant. Some people, you have to look at people who have those diplomatic skills. They have that line of thought that allows them to be clear in their thinking. We talk about them having the skin, the seven-span stick.
Yeah, but in our way, these people got a point that did not carry title. The title and that was always carried by the women. The women carried the title, and they appointed a man and that to represent and to carry their voice.
And to bring the minds together.
And the thing is that he was always supposed to work in the best interest of the people in accordance with the Constitution and the direction that he was given to by the people. If he couldn't do that, if he could not fulfill that, then he had no business to be.
See, and this is the problem that I have with when I started seeing signs and bumper stickers and that said "Honor the Chiefs," because and it's not because I want to dishonor anybody, but the idea that somebody would think that we have to somehow place these guys up on a pedestal, and I hear people do it all the time, and they not only do it with these traditional titles, which is wrong. But even in these elected positions, and I've seen it in Akwesasne, and I've seen it here in Seneca territory. I've listened to some of these guys step up to a microphone and talk about, being in a leadership position, and and having to lead and defend their people. No, you should be assisting the people to defend themselves.
That's the kind of talk that dishonors the people.
Absolutely. And again, anytime somebody starts to say that the Seneca Nation has some sort of exclusive or inherent authority, I mean, let's be clear. The Seneca Nation operates itself under a constitution. So those positions that are defined in that constitution, they don't have inherent authority. People have an inherent authority. People have a birthright. The only thing that a counselor or any of those elected positions have is, it's simple. It's constitutional authority. The only authority they have is what's defined, and again, I don't say this to be
About
rated.
2 pages.
Yeah, the Seneca Nation Constitution isn't exactly a dictionary. It's only a couple of pages long, and so it doesn't yield a whole lot of authority. It doesn't produce a whole lot of authority, which it couldn't do anyway. It doesn't strip the people. The people who supported that Constitution from its onset never divested themselves. They had some issues with some of the things that have transpired leading up to the point that they adopted this Constitution. But the reality is there's so very little
Let's
there.
make it clear. What the problem was is that we now had chiefs that believed that they were leaders.
Well, and the problems, the people hadn't stepped up to make it right.
Right.
And so again, even 175 years ago, we had a circumstance where the people had not accepted the responsibility. So they had not formally divested themselves of their authority, but they had acquiesced to that divestiture. And so that's what happens. You become complicit in the bad behavior if you do nothing to stop it. And again, I don't want to use a whole lot of big words. I know Paul gets mad at me.
Historically, they did step forward to stop it. The thing that changed it was the United States policy. The United States policy recognized the people who were willing to compromise the people's sovereignty and the people's rights. It's when the United States recognized the Seneca Nation Constitution and the Seneca Nation government in 1852 that was when the people had basically had something thrown against them. Because before that, they didn't allow the council didn't have the right to negotiate with anyone off the reservation. The council was set up only to resolve any concerns within the Seneca Nation. If there was any concern outside of the Seneca Nation with the state of New York, the U.S. government, or any company or any other non-Indian, then that was to be done by public meeting and referendum.
Well, and I don't disagree with you, Ed, but if you look at Akwesasne with the St. Regis Tribal Council or in the Seneca Nation, what ends up happening over a period of time, I know how these things get started. And they usually get started with all kinds of good intentions. When the three chief system of Akwesasne and the St. Regis Tribal Council, that was guys in the Longhouse who got appointed to be trustees to manage certain relationships with the state. Next thing you know, the rest of the council was meaningless, and it was just a three chief system. These things get created sometimes with what people claim to be good intentions, and what happens is over time. So no matter what took place in the 1850s, if you move to more modern times, the Seneca people accept the government that they have, even when they're not happy with it. And even much of the Longhouse participates at many levels with this elected system.
Well, for generations, the Longhouse wanted nothing to do with the Seneca Nation government, and they didn't. Okay, and then for generations, you're looking at 160 years where the people have been sent to public schools, and they haven't learned this stuff.
Well, not just public schools. Don't leave Thomas Indian School.
Thomas Indian School, okay, Thomas Indian schools and public schools being taught by non-Indians. Okay, what I'm talking about, I had to go into the depths of the University of Buffalo to research, and I did this when I was in 11th grade. I was researching, how did the Seneca Nation come about?
Well, but again, just to recapture one thing, I got touched on Thomas Indian School again.
Yes.
That started before the Seneca Nation's Constitution.
Yes, it did.
I mean, which is a pretty good indication that even before that there was some education problems.
The Seneca Nation Constitution was adopted in 1848, but that's not when it began. It began in 1836. It wasn't adopted until 1848. In 1832, they attempted to purchase Buffalo Creek, but they didn't get it until 1838 because it was vetoed by Martin Van Buren. And all of this stuff that I'm talking about is something people have to start to understand, because the history of the Seneca Nation is actually one that's very corrupt, but it was corrupt for a reason. It wasn't because of the Seneca people, it was because of the U.S. government and the state of New York.
But